I'm surrounded by some of the brightest political minds in the country who'll be discussing and debating the predictions and the results. We're also joined by the giants of social media, by Twitter and by Facebook, who'll be giving us their unique insights into what you're talking about through the night. We'll also look at how you voted and what that means for the next few days and the next few years. Tom, thank you. Well, I'm back with Adam Sharp from Twitter. Look, with the exit polls, if they're correct, they're certainly getting a lot of reaction on Twitter. In terms of issues, what are people talking about?
Well, we've been looking for the last week or 10 days at what issues people have been talking about in this campaign, and we zoomed in here on the top two: the economy in red, the NHS in orange. And look here, for the last week or so, duking it out to be the most talked about issue in the UK. But now, this big spike at the end here, that's tonight. Let's look at just the last 24 hours. Polls open, again, neck and neck until that exit poll. And people started talking about what would another 5 years of a Cameron government look like? And the big question, the future of the NHS, driving conversation tonight. Incredible
spike there, isn't it, Adam? Well, let's get some more reaction to whether this result, if the exit poll is to be believed, was driven by one single issue, which I won't do the cliche, but was it down to the economy? I'm joined by Ronan Dunn, the CEO of O2, and by Lord Jones, the businessman, very well-known businessman and former trade minister, and Musa Okwonga, who used to be a city boy and he's now turned poet. Thank you, gentlemen, for speaking to me. Ronan, was it, in the end, if the Tories are back into Downing Street, was it about the economy? Did people just go, we need to stick with the long-term economic plan that we heard so many times?
I think economic recovery has been a key issue. And I think people are interested in jobs and job security. We're seeing the economy start to recover. People don't want to put that at risk. That's what I think is the message coming out.
Lord Jones.
One thing I didn't hear from Ed Miliband once in the campaign was the word profit, especially not associated with the word good. And if you work you're one of Ed Miliband's hard-working families, in inverted commas, and you're on the line of one of the big, successful exporting manufacturers in the Midlands, you relate to the fact that you need successful business. They're not the shareholders, they're not the people who Miliband would call the bosses. They are actually the people on the line, but what they understand is you've got to have successful wealth creation, because without it, they don't get a job, there's no profit, therefore there's no taxation, therefore there's no public sector, and you can forget your NHS because there won't be any money to pay for it. And I think the penny dropped in Britain, that it's not just the general economic environment, which is important, as you just said, but actually I think the average woman in the street, the average guy in the street, in work, in a private sector environment, said, I wish this leader of the Labour Party had talked about business. And he never did. He never once did. And I think that he's paid a price tonight.
Musa, this is not music to your ears.
Well, no, because I think it's more diverse than that. I mean, there's not a single reason why the exit polls look the way they do. There's the economic reasons, of course, but there's also the regulation, because let's talk about the economy and the fact that we barely mentioned tax evasion. We talk about hard-working families. We're not talking about raising taxes. How about collecting the taxes already due? And if anything, I think that the case that was made, I think, was maybe too timid. I think as well, if you look at the some of the Conservative policies, I'm pretty worried, actually, considering how explicit they were in their dislike of immigration and by extension, migrants. The environment, the rhetoric they allowed to flourish, extremely worrying. We're going to see now terrible cuts for the most vulnerable members of society, the disabled, the poor, you know, women of colour. No, please let me finish. I don't just think this is about business, this exit poll. I think it's about people in difficult times falling back on what is familiar. And seeing austerity as maybe more of a panacea than it really is.
I get out of this metropolitan bubble. You know, I go around the businesses and the schools and the colleges of the whole country. And I was quite shocked in a way, but taken by, I was doing a vox pop in a shopping centre up in the north only 2 days ago. And she came up and said, what's all this about, you know, as they do, and pushing. And she said, you know, I've always voted Labour in my life and I'm going to vote UKIP. And I said, why? She said, I can't tell you. And I said, switch off the microphones, tell me. She said, immigration. Now, she has never voted Conservative, nothing to do with Conservative at all. She's nothing to do with Liberal. She was a Labour voter who was going to vote UKIP because of immigration. So when the metropolitan bubble down here actually starts talking about immigration, I suggest they go up there and understand it. And by the way, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm merely saying it is not a London issue.
Well, I'm not from a bubble. I'm black, I'm bisexual, I'm the son of war refugees, so I'm not part of any kind of bubble. And I resent that, actually, that implication that it's only people in the city who understand immigration as an issue. What's happened is...
I didn't say that.
No.
I didn't say that.
The implication being that I'm speaking on behalf of some kind of metropolitan bubble. I resent that. I think it's not as black and white as that. I think what's happened here is we've had a conversation which has been skewed towards immigration. We haven't talked enough about galvanising business and profits through reclaiming tax that is already due from offshore evasion.
Well, what's that got to do with this woman who says she's not voting Labour?
Because the full picture hasn't been given to a woman like that.
Well,
because
but whose fault is that?
Well, whether it's a media problem, it's a political problem, it's an articulation problem. Now, here's the thing. I would love to achieve the same kind of growth you would like to achieve. But my problem is we've had a conversation about immigration almost exclusively. We haven't talked about job creation, environment. We haven't talked about financial regulation.
No, you have a lot. There's been a big conversation. There's been demonisation of creating wealth by Miliband all the way through this campaign. Big business means evil, terrible, dreadful things. And it's so. And by the way, the average businesswoman or the average working woman in the country doesn't agree with him.
Lord Jones, let me bring Ronan in.
But the key here is there's an opportunity in the economy to grow, and that should contribute to all of the challenges we have. That's inclusion, that's about making sure we have the right skills. Even in the digital economy opportunity, there are 750,000 job opportunities in research that we've done, but we're not creating the skills. So what we've got to do is match talent to opportunity, and then everybody can participate. And that also includes people who are not necessarily born here, because we have to get the balance of making sure that we contribute to the economy in the way that everybody will benefit. If there's nothing coming out, there's no way of solving the deficit problem.
I'm going to have to bring that to an end just because we've run out of time. It's nice to end on a lot of nodding heads rather than the row, but thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much, Tom.